The UFC returned to Madison Square Garden for the second time with an impressive card featuring 3 title fights. Amazingly, those 3 title fights ended in 3 title changes in what was easily the most exciting card of the year. The biggest upset occurred on the women's side, with previously undefeated strawweight champion Joanna Jędrzejczyk losing to underdog challenger Rose Namajunas. But new bantamweight champion TJ Dillashaw's victory over his former teammate Cody Garbrandt was one of the more explosive fights of the night. Of course, what everyone might be talking about in the days to come is the return of Georges St-Pierre, who submitted now ex-middleweight champion Michael Bisping in the 3rd round, despite St-Pierre's beaten and bloodied face. In short, it was a card that left fans and fellow fighters astounded, and it injected a renewed excitement into the UFC brand that has been waning since Ronda Rousey's last defeat and Conor McGregor's foray into boxing. Read on for more details about what turned out to be a surprising UFC 217. After a 4-year hiatus, St-Pierre came back and showed that he might, in fact, be in his best shape yet both physically and mentally. It took just into the 3rd round for the veteran to beat Bisping, who had won his last 5 bouts. Round 1, GSP entered the octagon to thunderous applause. It was an odd throwback to a different time as he stood in the familiar cage but in an unfamiliar spot, the challenger's corner. And out came Bisping, who'd been cast as an unlikely champion despite him having earned his way to the top. He did knock out Luke Rockhold, fair and square on the jaw, to grab a hold of the belt he'd so long coveted. He came in bigger than GSP, which was to be expected in a bout pitting a longtime 170-pound champ against a fighter who at one point campaigned as a 205-pounder. When the fighting began, a GSP chant arose and the crowd's hero took the lead in the fight. He stalked the bigger Bisping, connecting with crisp jabs. Not much damage, but a point was being made. St-Pierre got a mid-round takedown but did little with it. Toward the end of the 5 minutes, St-Pierre connected with a Superman punch. Bisping smiled and ate a spinning head kick. He wobbled slightly but was fine as the horn sounded. Round 2, St-Pierre came out with less pace. Was he pacing himself for potentially 5 rounds, or was he tiring? Bisping was trying to find out, fighting with more urgency. He connected with a looping right hand, his best punch of the fight, but didn't follow up. GSP was picking his spot. He got a takedown, but Bisping made him work for it, and worked to keep the champ on the canvas. The challenger did no damage while on top, and before long Bisping had got the fight back to standing. He proceeded to land the occasional right hand, and GSP looked to be slowing. But the pace was slow, so it was not sapping too much energy out of the long idle ex-champ. Round 3, St-Pierre clearly looked tired as this round began, but Bisping, while not wearing the same tiredness on his face, must not have been at full power, because he was not putting pressure on his challenger. Then GSP went for a takedown, as he had in the 2nd, and he got it again. This time he stayed on top for longer, but he paid a price, as Bisping hit him with something from the bottom that opened a cut on GSP's face. Soon they were back on their feet, and GSP's face was crimson. But he looked rejuvenated, and when Bisping came forward, GSP countered with a left hook that dropped him to the canvas. St-Pierre swarmed him on the ground and dropped elbow after elbow, first with the left, then with the right. But there was no quit in Bisping, who rolled away from the strikes. St-Pierre then seized the rear naked choke to get the victory to become middleweight champion. Other main card results: TJ Dillashaw def. Cody Garbrandt via TKO, Round 2, 241. Garbrandt and Dillashaw were expected to bring fireworks, and they did. In the second title change of the night, Dillashaw got the better of his former alpha male teammate Garbrandt to come out on top. In the lead up to this night, this co-main event overshadowed the main event and everything else in the UFC, the side of Conor McGregor. Of course, sometimes when two fighters hate each other with such a passion that they cannot fathom what it would feel like to lose to that other guy, it results in a dud. That didn't happen here. After being dropped and wobbled near the end of the first round, Dillashaw floored the champion twice in the second, initially with the right hand and later with a left head kick. The second time, he didn't let Garbrandt recover, jumping on him with a flurry of punches to hand his former team alpha male teammate his first loss and take back the bantamweight belt that he once owned. But afterward the new champ wasn't thinking about bantamweight. He was thinking about flyweight champion Demetrius Johnson, who was in the stands. "I'm coming for you," Dillashaw said. Will the UFC make that champ vs champ fight in the 125-pound division or at 135? Or will embittered former training partners Dillashaw, 15-3, and Garbrandt, 11-1, dance again? Either way, the fans win. Rose Namajunas def. Joanna Jędrzejczyk via TKO, punches, round 1, 3:03. Rose Namajunas celebrates an incredible win over Joanna Jędrzejczyk. And just like that, there's a new women's strawweight champion. Frank Franklin 2/AP, first Jędrzejczyk gets into your head. Then she gets into your face. That's the way she fights. But Namajunas was having none of it. Eerily impassive in the weeks of lead-up, she waited till fight night to hit back, and she did so not with head games but with head punches. She dropped the strawweight champ in the first round, then got her again, this time pouncing on the previously undefeated Pole to get the finish and take away the belt. Namajunas, 7-3, moved forward right from the start. That's a dangerous game against a buzzsaw like Jędrzejczyk, and the thinking before the fight was that Thug Rose, an all-around terror, would have her best shot at success by taking the champ to the mat. Well, she took her there with a crisp left hook that collapsed Jędrzejczyk. The Garden crowd roared in appreciation for a fairly monumental upset. Through 5 previous title defenses, Jędrzejczyk, 14-1, had been building a legacy as one of the UFC's most dominant champions. And at 30, she's not done yet. But a star was born on this night, and it was a 25-year-old out of Milwaukee, Rose Namajunas.